What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. 2 guys, 1 mic, back in person. Feels good. Feels right.
Feels really good.
I don't know.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I don't know how much you're gonna like being in person after this past week here. But my man, strategy worked. Strategy.
That's right. How can I ever go against my team?
It was.
I would never.
Nuts.
You guys know this.
You know, and that's one of those unwritten rules, I think, as a fan. Like, you don't pick against your team.
Yeah,
unless you're desperate.
Yeah.
And I think we were in the same boat of we desperately needed a win for our teams last week.
I just felt like maybe the reverse psychology would work, and obviously it did.
It worked.
But here's the only thing, though. And we should have thought about this when we were picking our games.
Okay.
The Packers own the Cowboys.
I know.
They own the Cowboys. Jerry Jones does not own them. The Packers do.
And that's the truth. And I apologize. You know, it wasn't even in Dallas this time, which I wish it was, because I think, you know, the ownership would have kept on coming, but, you know, at Lambeau, you know, we just take care of business, and we're trending up, boys.
Hey, I'm with you. Yeah, pump the brakes a little bit. I think,
not as Lee Corso would say, not so fast.
I think it's a good stepping stone.
It was a morale.
Yeah.
I think it was a morale boost, right? We like the Packers. This is the first year in a long time where it just felt so desperately bad. Like we
preach, my friend, preach.
Which, yeah, as you understand, like it was depressing watching them, and it wasn't even. It's everybody. It's Aaron Rodgers and all of the criticism and like should he have retired? Should they got rid of him? You know, everybody has just been. He couldn't even do the relax thing, right? He could because it was just that bad.
So there was no relaxing. You're in straight panic mode,
right?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I joined a couple Steelers fan pages. I literally had to leave one of the pages because all it does is arguing over if Ben is better, if Kenny and Ben are the same or different, if Tomlin should be fired or not, and it just, I feel like the fan base, and I don't know if it was going on in Green Bay, I kind of got a little bit of feeling in Green Bay too, the fan base was starting to just turn on them because they're not used to losing.
Well, I think we talked about it, right?
You know, it disappoints me sometimes when you watch or look at those fan pages and stuff, because like even on the Cowboys pages, when they're winning, Dak's this, Dak's that.
MVP,
defense is great, whatever. And I still think defense is great, but when they lose, get rid of Dak, fire Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, they want everybody gone. There were fans saying that the Steelers are not in a rebuild. They were arguing that we're not in a rebuild. I'm like, dude, this is definition rebuild. Like this is definitely rebuild. And they're like, if this was a rebuild, they should trade Minka. They should trade T.J. Watt. They should trade Deontay Johnson. And I'm like, dude, I don't know where these fans come up with this, but just because you're in a rebuild doesn't mean you unload the whole team.
Right.
You need pieces to build around to rebuild. It's not a complete build.
Yep.
It's a rebuild.
Look at Carolina. Ever since they got rid of McCaffrey, I think they're like 2-1, and because they didn't get rid of everybody, they got rid of a big star piece, and you're thinking, oh, here's the unloading of everybody.
Yeah.
But maybe sometimes you need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is disappointing, I think, as a fan to sit there and go, the season's done, it's over. I understand it, right? Mm-hmm. We understand it as fans when, again, you've been in situations where it's not looking good, but that doesn't mean that you have to sit there and go, you know, Aaron Rodgers is complete garbage. He needs to be, you know, off the team. We need to go to
take him back and shoot him.
Yeah, like it's a little excessive.
Yeah, honestly, with you guys, you're 4-6 now. The way that all the other teams in the NFC are playing, you're still right in it.
100%.
So
for a wild card,
and you don't know, right?
For a wild card, you're Division 1, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, they're a good team.
We are going to hand them a loss for you guys this week.
Thank you.
You said that last week with them, though.
It's different. We don't remember. We own.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. But getting into a few games we do want to touch around here is the Cowboys Packers game.
Yep.
That was a good game. If you don't have Aaron Rodgers on your fantasy team, if you don't have Alan Lazard on your team, I should say,
right?
Because Rodgers played well. Rodgers scored points because of Watson,
right?
Which great game for Watson.
Yep.
But none of it was to Lazard, and that was killing me. But I think again, similar for us, part of the reason the Packers was able to upset or surprise the Cowboys was they played better defense than they have been playing, and they got their run game going.
Yep.
Aaron Jones had a good game.
Yep. He's extremely streaky, right? We know Jones to be this player, and it does stink, right? We talked about this before. You dropped AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
It's tough. Like I felt like that was our biggest compliment this year was that 1-2 punch, right?
Yeah.
Where you're gonna like hit him hard with Dillon, and then Jones is gonna be that electric player, right?
And I tried hanging on to Dillon as long as I could, but that big breakout,
it's tough.
Wasn't coming.
Yeah. Right.
He had that one big week in week 1.
Yep.
And
then
really
that was
nothing since.
Yeah.
And
I
don't know if it's the play calling. I don't know if it's just his like how he's whatever the situation is. But I think the help from Watson, right, with opening it up, he's fast. You obviously watched the game. He's quick. I think that deep threat was what we were missing for sure. He's been hurt. I think Lazard is going to be good. I hope so. I think with the situation, we're getting Cobb back this week, so I think there's going to be some pieces around it where I hope that this wasn't a fluke. I hope this was kind of like that one game.
Well, I think personally, I mean, there's nothing to worry about with there's a little bit to worry about for the Cowboys because the Giants are playing well and the Eagles are playing well, but I still think in the playoff scheme, there's nothing to worry about for the Cowboys. Yeah. I think they'll be fine.
They're there.
I think all the pieces fell just right for the Packers.
100%.
Because Watson became that guy that Aaron Rodgers could just throw it to.
Right.
He was on. He was catching, and they weren't like 5-yard catches. He was catching the deep ball, which was what Adams was always for him. Adams was the security blanket, and Watson. It will be interesting to see if he can continue to be the security blanket, or if this was just you're saying a fluke where it's just a 1 week. Randy Moss 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, 100 and some odd yards.
Right. But
did that happen against the Cowboys too?
Yeah, it did.
It was against the Cowboys, right? Yeah.
Well, which interesting stat, right? First play of Packers. You remember what it was? It was that
deep ball to Watson.
That deep ball to Watson that he completely dropped.
Oh yes,
right.
Yeah.
And
so the first play of the whole season.
First play of the whole season, literally, whole season through it. He burned the corner. Touchdown would have changed. I felt
remember he had one in this game, deep bomb that he dropped too.
Exactly.
So he could have potentially maybe even had 4 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah.
Who was on him?
Anthony Brown was on him when he dropped that, and I think he was on him again. The one that he did catch that was a long touchdown, Brown was on, but then Brown got hurt, and I think it was Kelvin Joseph that came in and replaced Brown.
So they put Diggs on Lazard.
And he shot him, and
Lazard didn't do anything. Lazard didn't do anything.
Which is interesting. You would wonder almost to try to
why they want to switch it.
Right, you know.
I know.
Well, because Mike McCarthy helped the Packers. I mean, I feel like he's one of those coaches where he's like, listen, this is our game plan,
and that's it,
and we are not changing it.
Right, no adjustments.
Tomlin used to be that way. Yep. He'd come in and be like, listen, we're going to run it 30 times, we're going to pass a few times, and our defense is going to go out and ball out. And then the defense gets burned, and the run game's doing nothing, and he's like, well, this is the game plan. We're doing it. He started to switch up a little bit this year because I think he just got so predictable.
Right.
Him and Canada got so predictable that they had to do something.
Right.
But I think that's what helped the Steelers this week. Is the same thing with you guys. Is we got a run game.
Right.
This week.
Najee did great.
Najee did real good.
100, right?
Yeah. He had his 2 longest runs of the year against the Saints. I mean, again, it was the Saints.
Right.
So I don't want to go down there and be like, we won a game we should have won.
Right.
In my opinion, we won a game we should have won. And Watt returning, that was a huge thing for us. Which again, with the Packers, is what they did. Their run game opened up their pass game. Mm-hmm. Rodgers was able to hit Watson deep because they had to worry about Jones too. Mm-hmm. And then I think your defense played better this week than it has been playing.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously a glimpse of hope that there might be something there. What do you think of? Because obviously at halftime we were tied, right? Wasn't it 14?
Yeah, 14-14.
And then you got up quick, right? It was it was 28 to 14, very quickly. What do you think? Was it just the defense wasn't there? What do you honestly from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe being up they got a little bit too conservative playing with the lead, and then the defense kind of just lapsed.
Because Micah Parsons,
and Rodgers, they couldn't stop Watson, couldn't stop Jones, and then the big play though, in overtime, McCarthy going for it on 4th and 4 in field goal range, and I like it because it's like being aggressive. Let's play to win the game, but you don't get the first down. All the momentum goes to Green Bay at that point.
Completely, right.
So
you're talking about a Hall of Fame quarterback on the other side, even though but it's not like we were.
It was very frustrating. 28-14 with a defense like that.
You should automatically at that point you should be.
And then, but Rodgers, man, we can't beat him. That's the truth, though.
It's weird.
Yeah, you know what? It's the Steelers have that too. Their kryptonite are the Raiders. No matter what, how the Raiders are, which is they played that this year, I think. So it'll be interesting. But Terrell Pryor had his 93-yard run when he was the quarterback of the Raiders.
Yeah, there's some
just
teams
can't beat them.
Yeah,
which is funny because back in the 70s we whooped up on them to get into the Super Bowl. But it was either the Steelers or the Raiders to get in the Super Bowl, and we got it 4 times.
Rodgers post game though had some nice words to say about McCarthy.
Yeah,
he still got love for the guy. So
he got him another win.
Yeah.
I mean, come on,
you gotta love the guy who helps you win.
I was hoping maybe Rodgers would go out of that game too, because there was a moment where he got sacked and I saw him over there doing this with his thumb. I was like, here we go.
Jay Love coming in.
Here comes Jay Love, but give it to Rodgers. Yeah. And I think, like I said earlier, maybe now they finally got something.
Yep.
So maybe this is a step in the right direction. With that, like I said, with the whole NFC, you guys are still right in it. So
how did the Pollard do? Did he get? Was he doing?
Yeah, he played good again.
He played good.
For fantasy purposes, I'll say that he got me 22 points. I think.
Oh, nice.
They had like 130 and a touchdown. Or 130 and a touchdown.
He did, he did well.
Okay. Yeah. So he ran the run defense is still a little shaky.
I would say
which would be scary for this week. It's scary for tonight.
Well, it's going to be scary. Listen, I'm hoping. I mean, I have Derrick Henry in my fantasy league, so I hope you just kind of
Yeah.
But let's get the offense right.
It's going to be cold there. Which run the football. Cold weather like that.
We talk.
King Henry,
Vermont weather. We talk, we listen to that podcast. Vermont weather. He is for some reason the Yeti, right? Like for some reason in this podcast they talk about whenever cold weather hits, no matter what, Henry just like for some reason gets this instinct and just runs hard.
Well, think about it. When it's cold weather, people don't want to hit.
No.
And if you're not going to hit Henry, game over.
Yeah.
Game over.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
He's a monster. It's going to be really tough tonight.
Speaking about the cold weather, though, did you see they announced today that they're moving the Bills game to Detroit?
Yep.
The Bills-Browns. The interesting thing I saw on this, and I didn't realize it at first, was both starting running backs are shorter than 6 foot, and they're supposed to get 6 foot of snow. Like, that's crazy. The Nick Chubb, I think they said, was 5'11", and Singletary's tiny, man.
He's small.
He's like 5'7", 5'8".
5'8", yeah.
He's like our height.
You're right.
I like the weather games like that where you can watch them play in the snow and stuff, but in reason.
Right.
6 feet, come on.
You're not going to be.
You can't play it,
Listen,
obviously it's not going to be.
They know how to get rid of snow.
Well, yeah, but
now as for the safety of
the fans
from getting them there and stuff,
yeah.
I understand that, and that's a huge parking lot to try to keep plowed out
for sure.
And then all those houses, because they park people in their yards and stuff. Like, are you ever gone to Buffalo for a game?
No,
it's
literally everything.
Everybody who lives around the stadium charges, and they just park people in their.
That's how Green
Bay
Bay is the same way.
They own people own double or triple lots, and they have a house on one lot, and then it's all parking.
It's pretty cool.
Now, if they played in that game, fantasy purposes, Singletary and Chubb, that'd be your 2 big guys, because all you're gonna do is run the ball.
Yeah.
In a game like that.
But I don't even know I don't even know I would trust Singletary. I would still say Allen, because I think he would do short passes or he'd take off running.
Yeah.
He scares me sometimes, though.
Yeah.
He doesn't slide at all.
Yeah.
No, he's gonna go.
He's this week. He showed some weaknesses this week.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Why don't we get into that?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a good, because that was a great ending of a game.
Best game this year. We agree.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So Ella's a Vikings fan. So after the Steelers game ended, I was like, "Oh, honey, the Vikings are still playing the Bills, and it's close. You want to watch it?" So she got excited about it, and I think we put it on with like 3 minutes left, and I was sitting here going, "I cannot believe this is happening right now." And she's like, "Oh, blah, blah," you know, she's excited, and then they called back the Jefferson touchdown first. And turned it over, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they got stopped. And I was like, "Oh, sorry, honey."
Yep.
That was a tough loss. And then Allen fumbles it in the end zone. At first, I thought he got safety. I was like, "Oh, it's safety. They have a chance now."
Right.
And all of a sudden, they're like, "No."
And then they were talking after that play that maybe you would have been better off just taking the safety.
Yeah.
And then kicking it away and just play defense for the last 30 seconds.
They probably would have been.
See what happens.
But then I was saying to Erin too, because she's standing there. I go, "I don't know, man. 33 seconds left with Josh Allen. All he's got to do is get in the field goal range." And I think where the Vikings messed up is they kind of went into a prevent.
Right.
They
let him go.
Yeah.
Right. They let him go.
You can't. I hate when teams go into prevent.
Yep.
Your defense has been playing well all game long, and all of a sudden with a crunch time, you're like, "Nope, back off."
Right.
No, I would be like blitzing like crazy. Like, keep the pressure up.
It's tough with the Bills, though. I mean, there's kind of like whatever you do, no matter what. It's like Josh can either burn you for 30, or obviously they have the weapons. But I'll tell you what, that catch, I mean, we talked about it a little bit.
Fourth down catch?
That fourth down catch, what was it, fourth and like 20-something?
18.
And to come down with a catch.
I would almost, I would probably consider that in the talk of maybe greatest catch of all time.
I would also agree.
Now, it was a great catch, don't get me wrong. And I'm probably going to sound like a hater.
You are.
My issue with it is it was a regular season game.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Like
they
want to put his gloves and his sleeves in the Hall of Fame. And I think great catch. That probably second best catch of the year so far.
But they talk about that. They talk about that Beckham catch against the Cowboys as being one of the great, and that was a regular season.
Why are you bringing that up if you're?
But listen,
I'm just kidding.
But listen,
I'm just
On the same point though, why aren't they going? And I'm going to sound like the upset, butthurt guy here, but why wouldn't they talk about Pickens' catch then? Because it was almost the same thing as Odell's. It wasn't a touchdown. You know what I mean? It's crazy catch.
The defender had two hands on that ball.
Was nuts.
Okay, and he literally grabbed it and pulled it down with one hand.
And then I got saying to Mike earlier when we were talking about it a little bit before you got here, I was like, listen, great catch, amazing catch, clutch, fourth down, keep the drive going. Not Hall of Fame worthy.
See,
not Hall of Fame worthy.
Taking into consideration, I guess, the clutchness of it, the level of difficulty, which was insane. So I mean, I think I know regular season game, all that, but I'd still, I think, put it one of the greatest of all time.
So we have a couple different, right? So we have, obviously, like for greatest catches, the Julian Edelman catch where it fumbled, fumbled it out in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We got David Tyree's helmet catch would be like one of probably the greatest catches. The Odell we talked about is as far as ability, and then this one is a huge. I feel like if he didn't make that catch,
I think you're missing two, bud.
Well, okay, Asante Holmes, right?
So you're missing three.
That was
Antonio Holmes tiptoed to the end zone.
Okay.
The immaculate reception, probably the greatest catch in the history.
Okay.
That changed the entire franchise of the Steelers. The immaculate reception of Franco Harris, right? where it went off Frankie Fuqua.
And then it bounced, and then it...
Yeah, and it went before it hit the ground. Because that was at the last 3 seconds of the game to go into the Super Bowl, and they beat the Raiders.
And then the Niners catch against the Cowboys.
Oh, the catch?
Yeah, the catch.
I was going to say, the other one I was going to say was, and I don't even think it's actually the greatest catch, it's just iconic, was Lynn Swann going over the top of, I think it was Danny White. No, I don't. It was one of the Cowboys guys. But it was like the first time somebody went over somebody to make a catch in the Super Bowl.
Oh, gotcha, right.
And it's like this iconic. That one I could probably push aside, but the immaculate reception, I think, is probably the greatest catch of football. Just because
I love that Santonio Holmes catch.
Just because it completely changed who the Steelers were as a franchise.
Yeah, but that was
to win the game and everything.
But that was also Ben's like literally could only throw it in this one spot.
It was a great catch, but
great catch.
I would honestly put that as the Steelers' second greatest catch. Santonio Holmes is their second. I would put the Immaculate Reception as their greatest catch of all time, because, like I was saying, that play
brought them to the Super Bowl. Right?
Changed. It made the dynasty.
Right.
It made them the dynasty they were. Like that was the beginning of them going on this run of 4 Super Bowls in 10 years.
How about that Hopkins Hail Mary catch a few years ago?
That was pretty nuts
against Buffalo, and Kyler scrambled for
he caught it on 3 people
yards before he threw that,
and then Hopkins grabbed it over 3 people.
Yeah, so that's up there.
Yeah.
So
how about Dez Bryant? Oh wait, he didn't catch that.
He didn't get that catch. Listen, and your whole franchise, it could be the same thing,
right?
Where that could have been the change of this whole scenery for your team.
I know. Before that game started, there was a fan in the front row had a sign that said "Dez caught it." So we'll never forget that.
No, that would be
of course you're never going to forget. You guys always.
So the day I get buried, I'm going to bring it up.
Steelers fans, we also had a catch similar to that where it robbed us, but it was against the Patriots, which I hate the Patriots because of Jesse James.
Yeah,
it was a complete touchdown, and they called it back.
That was tough. That was a tough one for sure.
Yeah, so
I think you can't put that there though.
No, I wouldn't put it.
Dez Bryant was
it's
a chance to go to the NFC Championship game.
Wait, and you knew
but you know what?
You knew that was going to happen.
Listen, here's the interesting thing about this. This is what gets overlooked. If the Steelers, that catch caught or were counted, they score, they beat the Patriots. Steelers become the 1 seed that year, and the Patriots have to be on the road to get to the Super Bowl. And it could have changed that whole year. It could have changed everything in the playoffs. But then they didn't count it, and the Steelers. I don't even know. I think the Steelers ended up like the 5 or 6 seed.
What year was that again?
Better.
I don't know. It was like 4 or 5 years ago.
A couple years ago.
So,
Jesse James,
who did Pittsburgh end up playing in the playoffs that year?
This guy's like Kansas City,
or was it Denver?
I don't know. It might have been Denver with. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look it up, but yeah, that was it. If they called it the way they should have, it would have changed the whole landscape of the AFC playoff picture.
Speaking of good catches, that year with the Dez non-catch, a week later, NFC Championship game.
Yes,
I think to go into the Super Bowl, Golden Tate, I think it was, or not Golden. Was it Golden Tate?
It was
over the shoulder.
Yep.
To win the game.
Yeah, but then there was controversial in that game too, right? Because there's something specifically about that where we got
an onside kick or something.
I forgot where we got gypped off and had to, because of the Cowboys non-catch, situation.
Well, that was a theme that year because the Cowboys got the non-pass interference against the Lions, and then they got the call, the no-catch call, and then the next game. The Packers had something happen.
It was I forgot, and it kind of sounds like something where it was interference, like it wasn't called, but it was blatant.
Well, it was Hitchens, right? Who went like this and never even turned around, and they threw the flag, and then they picked it up, and
still wasn't as bad as that non-call with the Rams and Saints. Though that
was bad. Yeah, that was real bad. That's probably the worst call in NFL history. But back to the Bills game. That was nuts. And then I still had the feeling that Allen was going to do something at the end, and then Patrick Peterson picks him off in the end zone.
That's crazy. I mean,
picked him off twice in that game,
and it was a dumb throw.
It was a dumb throw.
Really dumb
it was a stupid throw.
Yeah, Allen, he's great.
But that's his.
But he just try to do too much at times.
He likes to put his hero cape on and try to. Somebody said Josh Allen needs to play like Josh Allen and stop trying to be Patrick Mahomes. Because he's trying for these home run plays that you would associate with Mahomes at the end of a game.
Yeah.
Like he just needs to be Josh Allen and get the yardage and because you saw with the last 30 seconds he moved that ball downfield like it was nothing. Bam, 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 bam. Again, they were in prevent, so it probably wasn't as hard of a defense, but he's hitting the right people and they're getting where they need to get.
I think he just doesn't have that ability. Like again, how many years has he been in? 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
So I think he still has to learn that.
He's still growing.
But he's gone a long way from the beginning.
One more catch I'm going to bring up: the Stephon Diggs Viking playoff game.
Yes, that was a huge
Minnesota Miracle.
But,
Yeah.
but I don't consider that as like
I don't know if that's the catch,
a catch.
or it's just such a bad defensive play.
I mean, it was a bad defense.
It was a miracle. It was
Yeah.
a miracle
Yeah.
play, and it was the Vikings. I hate them. So I mean, let's not put that in there.
But then they got killed the week after by, Philly. I hate them, so I guess we both lost that year.
It's cool though. It's an interesting idea of like what's the greatest catch of all time, and I feel like it has a lot to do with the moment, right? Where you said,
Which is weird though, because I would still probably, but I forgot about the Minnesota Miracle, because I was going to say I'd probably put the Jefferson catch as the greatest Vikings catch.
it is
But is it a bigger? It's probably the greatest catch for them,
right.
But is the Minnesota Miracle a bigger moment than that?
You know why I'm
catch
going to
was?
tell you?
Yeah, I think so.
No, see, and I disagree. You know why? Because I feel like this is actually everybody's looking at the Vikings completely different now. Right before it was kind of like you won. Obviously,
Yeah.
a couple
You got
games in.
lucky before they
Right.
got lucky. This now it's like
Yeah.
they might actually be doing something.
Like-
we were talking about that last week, where it was like this would normally be a game the Vikings would let slip,
Right.
and now they're not.
And they beat Washington, right? And it was like, okay, they came back. But now it's like this team that Buffalo, everybody's like, they're the powerhouse. They're the best. We're thinking that they're the best team in the NFL. Now it's like,
Maybe we'll get to that.
yeah. But like now we have to put a little respect on the Vikings name. I won't.
Well, I mean,
You guys
I've been
can.
putting respect on their name all year.
You've been okay.
I picked them to win that division at the beginning of the year.
Again,
So I mean,
it was spite for me, but I get it.
but which good segue there is the how do you look at these powerhouses now? Because the Eagles lost to Washington, which
I called it.
You called it, but I can't believe. But you didn't call it because you thought Washington was going to beat them.
What do you mean?
You didn't call it because you thought Washington was going to beat them. You called it because you had pure hatred for the Eagles.
Well, yes, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't think. Well, you were sitting at home going, "Holy shit, they're going to do it. They're going to do it." But Philly didn't come out and play well,
No.
and Washington's defense played great.
Yeah.
Washington's defense played
And they don't
amazing.
even
real
have,
good.
and they're going to get Chase Young back.
Yeah,
this
you
week.
just saw he's come back.
So, but again, like a couple years ago, their defense was probably one of the best, right? That playoff
Yeah.
run that they
Yeah.
with Heineke.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I think this is a really good loss for the Eagles. It was that pressure taken off. Now they lost
Well, now they just had two big signings too on their defense.
Sue, right?
They signed Sue today, and they signed Linval Joseph too. Two big D tackles. Because didn't Jordan Davis get hurt?
Yeah.
Isn't he hurt?
Yeah.
And I think that obviously really hurt them that he.
You see, after that game, Heineke did the whole
Yep.
Cousins thing with the ice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He looked like a big nerd though with his
Yeah.
See
glasses.
that Peterson came out and said that they're not going to do it anymore because Heineke did it. They're going to try to figure something else out now.
Really?
Yeah, he said that he didn't want to put the chains on after the game, but Zadarius Smith forced them to and told him he had to do it. And then they saw Heineke do it, and they're like, "Well, now we got to think of something new."
Right.
So,
Hey,
but you
I
also
like it,
see
though.
you also see Carson Wentz come back now.
I'd stick with Heineke.
They are.
you're going to have
They're
to.
going to.
You have
Ron
to.
Rivera already announced that he's sticking with. I think he announced it today that he's sticking with Heineke.
I would.
But he came out and was very cryptic about it at first because he was like, "Listen, my starters are my starters, my backups are my backups, and that's how it is." And I was like,
How crazy
"Why
is
would
it
you do that?"
that 2 years ago, Washington won that division with a losing record. Now everybody in that division is 500 or better.
And good. I mean,
And
every
good, pretty-
single
yeah.
one of those teams, even Washington. I mean,
Yeah.
they could beat any team
Yeah,
in I think any game, right? Like it could be a
any given Sunday.
in that division, all of the East, right? So the NFC and the AFC.
Yeah.
If the playoffs
Yeah.
were to happen right now, all four AFC East teams would be in it, and the Bills would be a 6th seed.
Really?
And
Miami's
all
winning that
NFC,
division right now.
Wow. All right.
Miami, New York, Buffalo, Patriots.
and probably all NFC East teams, except for Washington.
I don't
Maybe
think Washington would be
They
in.
might be right on the outside right now.
They're in the hunt, but I don't think. I
Yeah.
think if it happened right now, they wouldn't be in. I don't know who would be, but all AFC East teams would be in.
Wow.
I think they might be though.
I
But you would
agree.
have Philly.
Giants.
Well,
Oh, for division
division
leaders.
leaders.
Philly,
Philly.
Tampa,
Yep.
Minnesota,
Yep.
and Seattle.
Yes.
And
And then the two would be Giants, Cowboys.
Giants, Cowboys, and San Fran.
Yeah,
San Fran. Yeah. So I mean, but they're close.
Yeah, they're in the hunt.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And it was crazy was that I was like, man, the Patriots are sneaking in there too.
Yeah.
But it's
but
crazy.
I feel like that's a big respect to Belichick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, their defense is.
Well, that's part of the reason why I always got into an argument whether Brady was the GOAT or not. Because I'm like, a lot of his early success
right
has to do
Belichick.
to hit the mind of Belichick.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and even still, and I know people don't care for Arians much. He's a great offensive-minded coach. He is. He always has been. To go from Belichick to Arians, not the same level.
No,
but it's like a tier down.
He's good.
You know,
he was
it's
a good
not
coach.
like it's not like he went from Belichick to Rex Ryan.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
I think the combination of Brady and Arians,
and he had so many years with Belichick. He had already learned so many different because you know, I mean, we're all athletes. You know, you don't just show up and play. There's so much more to being ready to play.
Right.
That I think he learned things from Belichick on how to prepare for the games.
Right.
And Matthew Judon's putting his name in there for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yes.
He's having a great year.
Yeah. Slay struggled this last game.
It was funny because I don't know if I messaged you.
Yeah, you
I think
did.
we did. Yeah, Slay got birds and it was bad. Like
I
a
like
lot.
And you said, "Oh, Slay's looking good."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Terry McLaurin is. I mean, he did really well.
I just saw something about him today on one of the sports people I follow on TikTok, I think. I don't know. But they were like, he is slowly and very quietly creeping into top 10 receivers of the league.
Yeah, it's tough because obviously he's young, and you know, Heineke. If Heineke stays in, I think he'll have, because I feel like that connection's there. If Wentz, I mean, the problem is once Heineke has one bad game, I swear it's gonna be and it's so annoying with these teams that they do that.
But Heineke is the fan favorite. That's the one thing that saves him, is he's a fan favorite now. That if you want to sell tickets, you're not gonna. They actually, have you heard who they put on their poster for the promotions for next year's season tickets? Heineke.
Really?
That's who they put on their promotion.
I personally, I like Heineke better.
Yeah.
I mean, division rival. I don't want to see Washington.
It's the little brother, though.
But personally, I like Heineke.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I think he's a better shot than Wentz. You know,
He's
Wentz is gonna be a backup now.
He's a very, and I think I've mentioned this, but he's a very, very like poor man's Brett Favre, like where he's got that small frame. He's kind of a little wild. He doesn't make the best.
I didn't realize he was on two teams before he went to Washington.
Yeah.
He started on the Vikings.
Panthers.
Yeah, and then he went to the Panthers.
Yeah.
And now he's on Washington.
Yeah.
But he started with the Vikings, and he played for the Vikings a few times.
Yeah.
it was a good win for them because, you know, I saw after, like on TikTok or something, that Rivera's mom passed away.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. It was
And they
very
went on,
emotional.
he was real emotional after the game, and so it was a good win for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, just bringing up the flip side for the Eagles, I think this was a good loss for them. I think it now puts less pressure on the team. Obviously, it's pressure in general because of the division. There's like you lose a game, and every game counts. But I think for the Eagles, it was kind of reality hit that they need to.
So here's what it did for me, because I started to relook at the teams again, because for a long time, or for weeks and weeks, I was like, Bills and Eagles.
Yep, 100%.
Now I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, let's look at the Eagles. They beat Cooper Rush instead of Dak. They beat Kirk Cousins in prime time. And who was their other big team that they had to beat? There wasn't another big team. They beat the Steelers, who are not good.
Yeah.
They're beating up on teams that they should have beaten. I don't know if they're as
obviously the first game was the Lions, and that was a really a high scoring game, right?
Yeah.
And the Lions' defense is trash.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't, and the Lions have not been good this year.
So tell me how the Packers score 9 points against those Lions, and then they put 31 up on the Cowboys. I don't understand that.
Division rival.
Watson, baby.
And I'm telling you, it is a division.
I just had to throw
divisional
that in
game.
there. Back to Philly.
That's why the Lions, because you build your team to beat your division.
Yeah.
So the Lions match up better against the Packers.
I don't care. We should have scored more than 9. I mean, 9 points.
No, man, it's a.
I
even when the
agree.
Browns were winless.
Right.
They still played the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Ravens.
I agree. Division
strong.
games,
Yeah.
no matter what,
because that's what you build your team for. Because you're seeing them 2 times a year.
Of course, yeah.
So you're gonna, but also because Watson was going against Swiss cheese, man.
That's
Going against a wet paper towel, couldn't hold nothing.
Not on that side, no. But Diggs, he held it down. But Diggs, big challenge this week with Jefferson.
Yeah.
We'll see what Diggs is really made of this week.
Yeah, that's true because he's going to be on. So one other game that we wanted to talk about was congratulations to 1-0 Jeff Saturday pulling off the win. What do we think? Did we watch anything from that game by any means?
No.
Jonathan Taylor finally did something.
He did something.
So
he went back to Matt Ryan, right?
Yeah,
I called that one. I
Yep.
said one of his first moves is going to be going back to Matt
and
Ryan.
I like that move.
Yeah.
I mean, Ellinger's you can tell he's not ready yet, if ever.
He wasn't
to be a
he
starter.
wasn't ready to come out of college. No.
So-
He's like Brady Quinn and all those guys who was good in college. He's not a pro.
Yeah.
He's a backup. He's a journeyman. Go the Chase Daniels route, man. Make your millions of dollars as a high-paid backup.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I go into
That offense runs better with Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan.
So-
He knows what he's doing. He's a veteran. He may not be good, but he knows what he's doing.
Right.
Their run game was better this week. And
And
then
then
they
against
played
the
the Raiders. So
Josh McDaniels, though,
I'm surprised he still has a job.
in ownership, and Mark Davis.
Mark Davis.
is very stubborn in a sense to keep him. I'm shocked that he's not on the hot seat, but supposedly he's not on the hot seat. So
I think currently he's probably not on the hot seat. I think if he goes the path he's going, his seat's going to warm up pretty quick by the end of the year.
and Derek Carr made some heartfelt statements. Right? Was that this week or was it the week prior? He was.
It might have been the week prior, yeah.
He's pretty emotional about how hard it is to be an NFL player, and that they try their hardest, but their team.
And their big defensive guy I saw today posted something. Max Crosby said,
Yes.
"You don't deserve this. I love you, Raider Nation. You don't deserve any
Right.
of it." So, I mean,
I don't
we
think the
we
players
thought
think
they were
Josh
going to be
McDaniels.
awesome this year.
Yeah, we thought that division was going to be the East. We thought the West was going to be the East.
Yeah.
For sure. But
What do you think? Like the real issue there? Obviously, their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
But do you think it's time for a quarterback change?
no, I think it's
Who's their
head coach.
backup?
I couldn't even tell you that.
Alexa, who's the Raiders' backup quarterback?
Jarrett Stidham is the backup quarterback for
Jarrett
the Las
Stidham.
Vegas
It's not a
Raiders.
quarterback change.
So you know what? We're gonna stick with Carr.
But and going back, this always happens. Quotes don't age well. But how about Devontae Adams going from Hall of Fame quarterback to a
my
Hall of Fame
God.
quarterback?
I mean, this season, unfortunately, but I mean,
Adams is still having a good year, though.
incredible year.
Yeah, but it's not because of Derek Carr.
Right. Well, it's not, and it's not translating to wins, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he could force him the ball, sure, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna.
So the Raiders are they're struggling.
Yeah.
A little bit of an injury bug right now. A little bit of an injury bug, but they were struggling before that.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with Josh McDaniels is just not a good coach.
He's not a good head coach, right? Do you think that
Didn't he coach Denver for 1 year?
he did?
Yeah.
Right, with
So,
Tebow.
so there was who was it? I want to say it was Brandon Marshall. They were doing one of those former players sit down talk kind of thing, and they were talking about the year they were going undefeated. The Broncos started off like 5 or 6-0, and then McDaniels got caught taping the practice of the other team. He's like, and the guy was like, "Listen, we'd come into practice, and Coach McDaniels would be like, if they line up this way, we're going to do this. You're going to do here. You're going to go there. You're going to go there." He's like, and he was right every time. He goes, then we got caught videotaping. He goes, the next game we got blown out. The next game we got beat pretty bad. He's like, we was cheating. We was cheating. That's why we were winning so bad. He's one of those Belichick tree guys. You things get past you. Things get taught to you.
Yeah.
And he's just not good at covering up.
And obviously, the Belichick tree is not necessarily the best tree.
No, you think about it.
It's literally
Charlie Weiss, Romeo Cornell, McDaniels, Patricia.
Yeah.
All these coaches keep failing. Bill O'Brien, right?
And Brian.
Bill O'Brien might have been the best so far because at least he took Houston to a few playoff appearances.
Yeah, and he got his hardship years out of the way at Penn State.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about Joe Judge. I mean, I
Joe
feel like
Judge.
he could have been. What's the coach that was for the Dolphins there for a little bit? The black coach, Brian
Flores. He's in Pittsburgh now.
Yes, I think these.
And didn't Gase come from there too? And
Yeah.
Gase?
Oh gosh, that's like worst ever head coach.
Right. He just hit his tree because I don't think he passes. He's got one coach I can think of that has.
Interesting. I'm trying to think of who that would be.
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban. He was the offensive coordinator for them?
I think so. I think he was with him. Saban was with him in Cleveland before he
and
went
obviously
to
that didn't
England.
translate to the NFL, so we're talking about college. So that...
Eric Mangini was the other one. Eric Mangini.
Okay, Eric Mangini was a little bit further.
He had success, but he still wasn't great.
Yeah.
I think he had success because he had talented players with him.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings up the fact of... Kind of interesting with coaches, right? So the Rams right now, right? We looked at... what's his name? McVay as like this all-star coach, like incredible, like coming out. Like
I always thought he was overhyped. I never knew what it was about McVay that everybody loved.
It's interesting, but now they're suffering, right? Obviously, they have some injuries. Is it the coaching? Was it him or was it the system? Was it?
I know you talk about that Super Bowl hangover, but usually Super Bowl hangovers are
a little bit better.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that gets overlooked with the Rams is they lost Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah, that's huge.
That is, I mean, he is a mountain of a man.
I agree.
He was a locker room leader.
Yeah.
And he protected the blind side.
Mm-hmm. But you're talking about also the defense too, right? Their defense was like this shutdown, lockdown, right? They got Bobby Wagner right now, and then all of a sudden, I don't know who they lost.
Where's their pressure?
Right, I mean...
They lost Von Miller.
Okay, so I agree with that.
They lost Von Miller. So when you put Von Miller...
But he was only there for...
Yeah, but you put him on the edge and you put Aaron Donald in the middle, where are you going?
Right, but he was only there for, 6 games? Like, he wasn't there for a long...
What did he do?
No, I mean, I agree.
And I've said this in the past that I hate saying one person does that to a defense. Mm-hmm. But I watched it last Sunday. T.J. Watt changed Pittsburgh's defense. Alex Highsmith had his second best game of the year last Sunday. What his first best game was? Week 1 against Cincinnati.
Right.
One player can change.
I'm just thinking, because it reminded me, and I gotta say it before I forget it, one more person I can think of right now from that Bill Belichick family, because they play tonight, Mike Vrabel.
Okay, so yes.
But
he was not a coach, right?
He was a player.
He was a player, but he's learned from Belichick. Because
so if we're going to give a little credit to somebody...
But I feel like this is where it could be a little different. Because Vrabel played.
100%.
He wasn't a coach that came up.
Yeah.
He played, so he understands the flow of the game, the mentality you need of the game. Like these guys who don't play and come in and coach, which might be why Jeff Saturday did all right against the Raiders. It might be because he played the Raiders. But he might have had a good...
That's a plus.
It's a plus,
right? A layup at the beginning.
Yeah, it's like... I think the Raiders is probably the best team you could go against right now to get your first win.
Right.
Like Carolina's starting to play a little bit better, and the Texans will still fight in there.
Right.
Detroit's on the 2-game hot wrench right now. They're like, but these players that know the flow of the game, they know how things work. It's better than a coach sitting there being like, "Well, I think you should do this."
You also have probably one of the best running backs to play the game, right? Like, I mean, Derrick Henry's one of those players. Not saying...
And they had A.J. Brown. They had A.J. Brown for a few years, too.
But Derrick Henry reminds me of, in baseball, like Mariano Rivera.
Yep.
He had that one cutter, and you knew what was coming, and you couldn't hit it.
Yep. Randy
you
Johnson.
know Henry's coming at you, and you can't stop him.
Yeah.
You can't.
It was Randy Johnson. You knew he was coming in and throwing a fastball.
And you couldn't
Good luck touching it.
And it's scary, but obviously if they could get some other things. But Vrabel, I think the one thing with Vrabel is he's such a player's coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody, I mean, like we all like him as
I
a
feel like he would
coach.
put a helmet and pads on and go in right now.
If he
Oh,
had
he
to,
would, yeah.
he would,
Yeah, so
and maybe dominate.
it's crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
I liked him as a player. The only thing I didn't like about him,
Sounds
The
great.
Patriots.
he played for the Patriots.
yeah.
And I think the Steelers drafted him, I think. He was a Steeler, I think.
So talking about coaches, I mean, I think we're in this. Do you think a big difference for the Vikings is Kevin O'Connell? Or I'm sorry, not O'Connell.
Yeah.
That's his name.
O'Connell. Okay.
I think it's a big difference.
Do you think it's a big difference?
Yeah. So I think they got
It's
stale with
right?
Mike
It's
Zimmer.
Where's he from now?
He's from
McVay.
McVay's tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was the offensive coordinator.
So I think it's interesting because I think he's the right guy for the right play. Dabble, right guy for the spot. You know what I mean? Dan Campbell, struggling, but players want to.
I
play
love
for him.
Dan Campbell.
They want to play for
Yeah.
him. I think
He's great,
I
right?
think he is. He's also got. I mean, I know you don't want to hear this, but the Vikings also have a lot of talent on that team.
They do.
So Zimmer, I think, was out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he knew how to harness the hand or how to handle the talent or how to get the guys. I think this O'Connell is doing a really good job
Yeah.
getting the talent to do what he needs the talent to do.
It's interesting, and their defense is playing good. He's an offensive-minded head coach. I don't know who their defensive coordinator is, but they're doing. I mean, as a Packers fan, it's tough to watch. They're doing really well,
Yeah.
and I do like individual players on that team. I do like Jefferson. He's a really good player,
And they're getting production out of some veterans who people think are washed up.
Right.
Patrick Peterson's showing up, making plays.
yeah.
I mean, Adam Thielen's a little bit older. He's still making some good plays for him. Harrison Smith's starting to get up there a little bit. I mean, he's still one of the top safeties of the league. But
Yeah.
Zadarius Smith's not the young guy anymore. So
Yeah.
he's got some veterans in the locker room that I think help. And they're not just veterans who are on the team. They're producing for him. I think that also helps.
Be interesting. It'll be interesting going along. But I mean, this week was
Yeah, things just got stale with Zimmer,
yeah.
and it was time.
It's a move, right?
I feel like we were saying, like there were games where the Vikings would just slip away because I feel like they felt like, oh, this is gonna be one of those games
Right.
where we're not gonna be able to do anything
Yep.
because Zimmer was stale. He wasn't doing, that's
So he's obviously in the. I mean, we talked about last week or the week before was like our head coach of the year. Obviously, Dabble is going to be like you would think, but I mean, honestly, I think Kevin McHale needs a little bit of respect on his name.
O'Connell.
O'Connell, goodness.
Let's respect the man by saying the wrong name.
I said it right the first time, and I was like, I swear it's wrong.
He was a basketball player.
Yeah, I know.
Kevin McHale.
But
I know. I just and a coach too.
O'Connell, Dabble, Sirianni,
Pete Carroll.
Carroll. Yeah.
Come on.
He's just, but these other guys have like 1 to 2 losses. Andy Reid.
You get rid of your franchise quarterback. You get rid of Bobby Wagner, that leader on defense. You bring in Geno, who hasn't had a starting job in 7 years, and you're 6-4, first place in the West. I think his name's at least
It's
up there.
probably getting
Put
thrown
some
around.
respect.
It's probably
All
getting
right,
thrown
put some
around.
respect.
It's probably getting thrown around a little bit, but I don't think it's at the top of the list.
Be interesting.
Salah or
Yeah.
Salah, or
Yeah.
however you prefer
Yeah.
the Jets.
Yep.
I think he's up there.
McDaniel,
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel,
Yeah.
Josh?
Mike
Oh.
McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's doing
Not
it.
yet.
So
He is. Yeah, these
I'll
guys.
tell you who it's not. It's not Mike Tomlin.
It's definitely not Mike Tomlin.
Not Mike Tomlin.
How
He
about
is-
Mike McCarthy?
It's not. He's helping teams win that haven't won in a while.
Mike McCarthy is not the one. He's not the one.
Who are they waiting for? What coach are they waiting for that they're letting McCarthy hold the spot for him?
Nobody, because it's Jerry Jones.
No, there's got to be somebody.
I don't.
So here's my other thing too. I think next year Martindale is a head coach.
Who's that?
Wink,
Yeah.
the
From-
defensive coordinator for the Giants. He was at the Ravens. Now he went to the Giants.
Maybe Dan Quinn.
I don't think that'll
It's
go
tough.
well.
It's tough because
Yeah.
obviously, remember,
He's got
I mean,
experience.
he took him to the Super Bowl, but it was
Even though today I did see a thing where he came out and said he's not interested in any head coaching job.
what about Dallas's head coaching job though? If
I would, maybe.
But okay, here's the serious question.
2 years ago when
Do
they
you
hired
think-
McCarthy, I wanted them to get Lincoln Riley.
Yes.
And
I wanted the young and upcoming coach, like a McVay or Shanahan.
Do you think that, because I can see the Cowboys pulling this, do you think they would pass over Quinn and go to Kellen Moore? Because they love Kellen Moore
Yeah,
for
I
whatever
know.
reason.
I know. And he is a young guy. Young and maybe upcoming.
What do they call Tony?
I wouldn't mind seeing Tony either.
I think it would be interesting to see if it really happens or not because of Jeff Saturday and Mike Vrabel. Do they start going to former players?
Yeah.
Or what about? I mean, I know this is crazy, but what about Deion Sanders? Like he obviously, he's a college coach that's playing.
I don't see him and Jerry meshing.
But in general, as far as a coach,
Is a coach somewhere? Yeah,
I mean, come on.
there are teams that'll do it.
Showtime, baby.
There are teams that
And it would be
I
incredible for
would like
Dallas.
a coach. I think maybe getting a little ahead because
Yeah.
Dallas is still 6-3. McCarthy, I think, has done a good job, especially with losing Dak earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a coach that just is able to take over the reins with everything.
Right.
But Jerry hires these guys because they're
yes men.
yes-ers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McCarthy,
They do what he
Garrett,
wants,
Yeah.
His last one that gave him issues was Parcells.
Yeah.
So
You need that strong, a little bit stronger of an opinion. A guy that's listen. This is my team. Up there, you make decisions.
I kind of forget how Wade Phillips was. Because
He
we
was a
had
yes
Wade
man.
Phillips too.
he was a yes
And he's
man.
the one that got fired for Garrett to come in.
Yeah.
Was Phillips. So
Yeah.
He's old.
He wasn't Phillips
Yeah,
the one
he
that
was older.
went like 4 years in a row of 8-8.
yeah, it might have been. Yeah.
He did he was just 8-8. He was like the
Well, for a long time,
Jeff
Cowboys.
Fisher, who was 7-9.
Yeah.
for-
Jeff Fisher was like
7-9.
For a long
7-9,
time,
7-9.
Cowboys were the masters of 8-8. Though.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they were. That was the running joke for a long time. That they
Yeah.
were just it's 8-8.
So, like, as like a laugh, because I feel like it's getting to this ending time. Who do we honestly feel like the best team in the NFL is right now?
Yes,
Who-
that's what I wanted to get into this too. So I was looking at it, and I want to say the Bills. I don't think I can anymore. I think the Chiefs.
I'm with him.
I think the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
I think we have to put.
I think the Chiefs are, and I think it's going to come down between the Chiefs and the Bills on the AFC side. NFC side, I really, really want to say the Vikings will make it to the Super Bowl, but there's one thing preventing me from picking the Vikings. They have to play in prime time to get to the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
And like as much as people joke about that,
It's, a
it's
thing.
real.
It's a thing.
It's real. Until Kirk Cousins starts winning in prime time, that's going to hold the Vikings back from the Super Bowl.
It's gonna be interesting.
So that's your favorite in the NFC right now? Minnesota, right?
No,
Or Philly still?
I don't see. I don't know if I trust Philly. I will get back to you after Christmas Eve.
Okay.
I'll get back to you after Christmas Eve.
All right.
But if you had a gut decision right now, if we were in the Super Bowl tomorrow with
You're
the
gonna
best,
make me come say
we
somebody,
have-
aren't you? Because I don't
we
want to
have-
say who I actually have in my mind.
Say they both keep going good, winning games, and Christmas Eve.
It's nobody we talked about yet.
Christmas
Right,
Eve. Christmas Eve comes, and it goes this way.
Then
Then
I would.
what
Then
would
I
you
would.
say?
I would drop the Eagles out.
but
I'd put the Giants in.
let's go.
I honestly, right now, I just like the way the Giants are. Their defense is playing well, and Saquon is playing really well.
Yeah.
And Jones is not turning the ball
He's
over.
doing what he needs to do.
I think that's a formula to win.
They're playing well.
And
They
I
beat the
don't.
Packers.
And I don't want to see the Giants in
And
there.
guess who lost to the Packers? Okay, so I mean, they beat the
And they
Packers.
could. I don't know how much. He's going to contribute a little bit, but they could get OBJ back.
I think
that's the one thing that's missing with the Giants right now. Is they
Yeah.
don't have that big, deep
What the-
threat down the field.
They traded Tony or whatever his name
Tony. Yeah.
is. Galladay's not doing anything
No.
for them.
They lost
Slayton's
Shepard.
hurt.
Shepard got hurt, which I
Yeah,
think he was a
Shep-
huge.
yeah.
I think he's an underrated player.
So they need him. They need OBJ, and I think he's itching to go back and right the ship with the Giants.
He's matured so much. I mean,
You hear stories and rumors of everywhere you look at, but the one I read the other day was between Cowboys and Giants right now, and
I think either spot
they
could be great.
think he's leaning more towards the Giants.
Yeah.
Because to go back to New York,
and it's a better team, right? So, like, obviously, if you want to...
Well, I mean, the Cowboys did already beat them, but I still don't know. I would probably, if I had to pick right now, I'd probably say the Eagles.
Right.
But the one thing OBJ wants, and he said it, warm weather. Coming off from an ACL injury, Dallas, perfect. Nice in Texas.
Yeah, but just because they're in Texas, they still have to go to New York. They still have to go to Philadelphia. That's what drives me nuts about
Not
these.
for the rest of the year, though. We already went
guys-
to Philly and New York.
These guys are like, I want to play in warm weather. Listen, you're going to have to travel everywhere.
And guess
you
what?
got to play in weather.
In off-season, you can go to the Bahamas. So, you know what? Go to the Bahamas off-season.
And it doesn't matter whose team he's on. In the playoffs, he's going to go down to Miami and party on a boat anyway.
That's
And then not catch the ball in the
you know,
playoff
yeah.
game.
Just his thing. I think he's turned it around.
I think the only cold weather game, 2 of them, the rest of the year, is Tennessee, which gets a little chilly,
A little. Yeah, that's kind of push.
and
so pretty good.
Washington. Other than that, we go to Houston, we go to Jacksonville, and
Listen.
then we're home.
Dallas played Miami in a snowstorm. Leon left.
Well, how many
Leon
times is
left.
that going to happen?
I'm just saying, it doesn't matter. Fluke weather happens
I know.
wherever.
Okay, well, when OBJ listens to this podcast, he will look at and go, you know what, Mike, you're right. I'm going to sign with Dallas.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
OBJ, if you're listening, come to Big D.
As much as he hated you years ago, he wants you there now.
Play with CD Lamb. You'd be great together.
I just forgot I had this too. I just wanted to bring this up real quick because it's a flashback to Mike trying. If I can pick it up, to Mike trying to trash talk my Steelers and Andy Dalton here. Looked him up a little bit. Andy Dalton is 25-31 against the AFC North. He is now 3-14 against the Steelers. But
Oh boy.
okay, all right. Well, that's a mic drop. Yeah.
so, anyways.
Good.
That's our banter, our talk for this week. I think we went a little long-winded, but
It was good, Mom.
Yeah.
it was good. It was good
Oh,
conversation.
yeah.
Good conversation. So
OBJ.
I think we're gonna head more in this direction as we go on too.
Yeah.
I think it sets up better because I don't think you guys want to hear us say, "Well, I want to watch this game."
Yeah.
We want to talk about the hot topic.
Yeah, I like it like this.
Hot
That's
topic.
good.
There's
So.
going to be certain teams that are going to be on top, and that's right here. We're always going to talk about them.
We barely even talked about the Steelers this week.
They
It's
got
okay.
the win. They got the win.
Yeah, good job on the
And
win.
in case you guys didn't hear, T.J. Watt came back this week.
I didn't hear that, but that's it.
Did he?
Oh, and they're wearing their color rush jerseys this week.
Nice. Well, hopefully it's
Cincinnati is too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, they had to do something. They got flexed out of primetime. So,
Yeah, I know that was. I felt bad.
anyway, so that's another episode. We'll put up another video here in a little bit about our pick'ems this week. We'll go over our records from last week. Very interesting on our records. We'll get into that. So, good to be in person. Next week
Yeah.
we'll have a little Thanksgiving discussion.
Yeah.
Some Thanksgiving games and stuff like that. So it'll be good.
Yeah.
Food family football. Until next week. 2 guys.
One mic.
Let's go.
Peace.